By 2035, France's economy has collapsed. While people still vote for their politicians, the truth is that big corporations control everything now because they've bought the country's debt. 15 million people are unemployed and living in homeless camps under the Eiffel Tower. Riots and protests become part of the daily routine, especially when the corporations pass reforms in their favor, deregulating many industries. The most scandalous one is the legalization of human experimentation and performance-enhancing stimulants, which transform athletes into their guinea pigs in exchange for sponsorships and easier wins. Any person is free to sell their body. However, they want is free trade. Radar arrived in France when he was 10 years old and the land was still prosperous. Nowadays, unfortunately, he's another victim of the system and works as a cage fighter under the stage name Ares. He used to be among the best ones and received all kinds of sponsorships. But one day he accepted a deal on an experimental stimulant that gave him a stroke. It's been 10 years since then, and now he's just another low-ranked fighter that nobody will pay for. To earn some extra cash, Raiders sometimes accepts to work for Altman, a cop that occasionally hires enhanced fighters when riots get too rough and they need extra security. It's during one of these riots that Rita notices Altman making a deal with a mysterious big man. He also sees his niece Anu getting arrested for being part of the protest. Speaking of the riots, all this bad publicity is starting to worry the investors of the Donahue Corporation. So its CEO must think of something fast. Sometime later, Rita bails Anouk out of jail as announcements all over the city, informed that firearms are now illegal. Radar takes Anouk back to his sister Carla, who is also working with the rebels. She and new member Boris show him that the Donahue CEO is denying any kind of problems with their stimulants and swearing that the athletes know the risk, which is a lie. Radar doesn't care though, he prefers having money to survive and stay out of trouble. Afterward, Rady goes to Altman Place to spend the night with her, thanking her for helping Anouk. Some days later, corporate executive Anna informs the Donahue CEO that their latest stimulant tests have failed and more than 10,000 are dead. The CEO orders her to use Radar, who had survived the stimuli the last time, even if it gave him a stroke. The fact he isn't doing well nowadays will only make his comeback story a more powerful tale in their ads. Later in the evening, when Radar goes to see his coach, he finds Anna in the office. They want him to try Donahue's new stimulant, the HSX, because he's the only one that has survived it so far. However, it turns them down, not wanting to risk another stroke. Afterward, Radar stops by a kiosk to get some food, and the owner reminds him that he will indeed sell the kiosk to him if he manages to get the money. When he returns home, Radar puts today's winnings in a box with his savings. The next day, Rita bumps into Miaisodas, his cross-dressing neighbor. They don't have a good relationship, exchanging insults whenever they see each other in the hallway, but at least they don't bother each other either. On his way out, Radar is intercepted by a couple of cops who informed him Carla has been arrested for possessing an illegal gun for which she may get 5 to 10 years. Radar goes to the station and tries to tell them the gun is his, but the detective quickly catches his lie when he can't even tell what kind of gun it was. Until this issue gets resolved, Radar will be in charge of his niece as Anouk in May. But as soon as they're out of the station, he calls Altman for help. She promises to look into Carlos' case and advises Radar to lay low for now. Outside the building, Radar finds Boris, who has brought a lawyer with him and promises to have evidence that Carla had been staged. Rita asks him to speak in private and they go to the bathroom, but instead of listening, Rita grabs Boris by his hair and dunks his head in the toilet. He knows the rebels handle illegal weapons for protection and thinks Carl has been arrested because they made a dumb mistake, so he doesn't want to hear any excuses. The next day, Radar gets to visit Carla for just a minute by paying off one of the cops. Carla also swears she's been staged, and Radar doesn't know what to think, but he does advise her not to get into trouble, because he can't protect her here. In the evening, while Rita is making dinner for the girls, he discovers Anouk is still in contact with Boris. He forbids her from working with the rebels anymore, and Anouk throws a fit, accusing Rita of being uncaring for not joining the fight. She drops her food as a sign of protest, and Radar slaps her for it, prompting Anouk to call him violent and obedient, which makes him perfect for a cop. Then she leaves the building, and Rita worries about her in this dangerous neighborhood. So he goes to see Maisotis to ask him to watch me while he goes after a nuke. It doesn't take Rita long to find a nuke who has been captured by a gang. At first, the teens try to look tough, but as soon as Radar easily beats up their leader, they free and you can run away. Radar reminds a nuke that her mother is in prison and getting into trouble will make matters worse. He also points out that to free her, he'll probably need money. So if she wants her mom back, she must accept how the world works. On their way back home, Rady gets a call from Altman, saying she is news about Carlos' case. So he drops a nuke at Maisota's place as well. He tries to pay him for the babysitting, but he gets offended and turns the money down. Once Rita meets with Altman, he learns Carla was arrested because of an anonymous tip. They may have a chance by bribing the guards, but it'll cost rate of 100,000, and he must get it quickly before Carla is prosecuted. Seeing as he has no choice, Radar goes back to his coach and Anna to discuss the deal with the HSX stimuli. Lab helper Tyro shows him a quick test by trying a drop of the stimuli on different samples of blood and only rate of stays unaffected. There are some risks, though. The withdrawal symptoms are intense and Radar will lose consciousness after a match, so he only has 5 minutes to win. The plan is for the coach to sign him up in the big championship while telling everyone he still sucks, allowing them to win bets by a huge margin. If Rita can bear 3 rounds, he'll be paid 120,000. Rita accepts the deal, then goes back to his building to pick up his nieces. They get along wonderfully with Maisotis, who has cameras all over his apartment because he live streams his life. The girls say goodbye, but Rita won't even thank Maisotis for the help before leaving. Sometime later, the coach is furious to discover Radar will be going against Panther, a fighter that has had his nervous system tweaked, and he no longer feels pain. No matter what Anna says, the coach thinks Radar can't win. So he'll bet against him instead on him like they had agreed. Radar decides to take a risk and use his kiosk savings for this. But since he can't bet on himself, he asks Maisotis to do it for him. The girls stay with Maisotis, the night of the match, too. And the Donahue CEO invites all the investors to watch the match at the company's office as a presentation of HSX. Rita enters the cage after Tyro and Jackson with a stimulant, his senses turned up to 11. Panther comes after him with confidence, but Anna hadn't been exaggerating the effects of the HSX. It works so well that Radar can beat up Panzer easily, barely breaking a sweat. In fact, Panther needs to take a second dose of his own stimulant, which never happens. It's useless, though. Radar still effortlessly beats him up before his time's over. Rita wins the fight, but once the 5 minutes run out, he throws up blood all over Tyro and passes out. Anna is smug while the coach laments his poor betting choices, and the Donahue CEO gets the support of all the investors when they understand the potential military uses of the HSX. When Radar wakes up, he informs everyone this was a one-time thing only, but he changes his mind when Anna makes a juicy offer to become the face of HSX. When Radar returns home, Maisotis has already been paid the bet money, which is enough to get Carl out and still keep some in savings. Rita informs him that he'll keep fighting, which a nuke doesn't approve of. She understands having one fight to save Carla, but for now, all his payments will be blood money. As days pass, Radar's face appears all over HSX advertisements, and he's also interviewed on all kinds of TV shows, which has raised the Donahue shares of 53%. Radar moves with the girls into a nicer apartment, although May doesn't like it very much, because Maisotis isn't there. The data finally free Carla comes and Radar gives Altman the money for the release. But unfortunately, Altman brings bad news. Carla died while defending new prisoners. Altman tries to give Radar the money back, but Radar tells her to keep it and discover who had staged his sister. During Carlos' funeral, Boris notices in his presence there and begins making plans. Radar is the legal guardian of the girls, which is more reason for him to concentrate on his matches. His next opponent will be Lamas, a large man that handles his opponents in seconds. One evening Radar's TV is hacked by Boris, who asks him to get information about Donahue as experiment victims. Radar refuses, claiming Donovan isn't his enemy, but he changes his mind when Boris shows him that the anonymous tip against Carla came from the phone outside the gym. Radar goes to see his coach, but he swears Radar is the only one using HSX. Rate is starting to get suspicious, but he says nothing for now. After dropping the girls with my sodas, again, he visits Altman. And while spending the night together, he makes her promise to make sure the girls will be safe if something happens to him. The night of the next match, the Donahue, Sio and Anna watch it with the investors again, hoping to grow their shares even more. Tyrant and the coach are in the office eager to earn easy money. But when Radar enters the cage, they notice something weird. The scientists that Donovan sent to take blood samples and apply the HSX isn't there with him. The match star, but it's barely a fight at all. Lamas quickly grabs Radar by the head and hits him against the cage until Radar passes out, finishing the match in 17 seconds. The sports commentators called the HSX a hoax. The coach loses a great amount of money and Donavia's shares quickly begin sinking. Radar wakes up a few minutes later feeling perfectly fine. And on his way out, it's revealed that Donahue, a scientist, is all tied up, meaning Radar never took the HSX in the first place. While the Donahue CEO sends Anna to find Radar, so they can use him to calm down the investors. Maya Sodas picks up Radar in a car. The girls are ready to leave with the money they've made by betting on llamas, but Radar still has some business to take care of. He asks Maya Sodas to take the girls and meet him later. And if he needs anything, he can call Altman, who Radar gives him the phone number of. But back at the apartment, someone else gets to the girls first. Next, Radar goes to see the coach and reveals he has the HSX he should have taken. The coach gets scared and finally confesses he did call the cops on Carla, so that Radar would accept the sponsorship for the money. He had no choice because he's the only one of his fighters that could survive this particular stimuli. But Radar doesn't care about the excuses, and he kills the coach by injecting him with the HSX. Anna and his bodyguard arrive at the gym as well, and Anna threatens with hurting Radar's nieces if he doesn't cooperate. Radar tries to beat them up, but without the serum, the bodyguard easily overpowers him. He's allowed to call Maya Soda's place to confirm Anna saying the truth and discovers Altman has them at gunpoint, because she's been working with Anna all along. She was the one that gave Anna the idea of using the coach and Carla, because she may be fond of Radar, but she likes money more. The night of the riot, she had been talking to the